Now, if you take these four cases, int versus int, the result is always int. Int versus float, the result is always float. Float versus float, always the result is float. Float versus int, the result is always float. Only one case, int versus int, the result is int. But you have to have a focus on this element. Actually, sometimes the result may not be correct, even though int versus int result is always int. Just you see that a few examples I give you. Now you know that 5 is a integer value and 2 is another integer value. So as far as now you see different operations, we see plus 7, okay, this is okay, there is no problem. Minus 3, this is also okay, there is no discrepancy. And into multiplication operator is the star symbol, you should not use into. Here multiplication symbol is star symbol. So 5 into 2, 10, here also there is no problem. But here you see 5 by 2 is 2. Why? Int versus int is int, it never be 2.5. This point always you must remember. If you want to, if you expect 2.5 and all that, you have to make both are 1 as float, then only you can get 2.5. Otherwise always you get an integer value. It may not be correct arithmetically, even though it generates 2 only. One more example I tell you. You have 3 papers, that is 55, 45 plus 54, then 154 by 3. You want to know the average marks. Average marks you expect that 51 point something, but you get only 51, because this is integer, this is also integer by integer. Here why I have used versus means any of these operations, it may be plus, it may be minus, it may be division, or it may be multiplication. As far as division is concerned, this discrepancy will come in C programming, that you must always remember that int versus int, the result is always integer, you cannot generate float. Okay, that point you remember and proceed. So let us come to the current issue. Now in order to arrive at our amount, what we are doing, numbers should be multiplied by rate, or rate should be multiplied by numbers. Numbers type is int, rate type is float. So according to this principle, where it is int versus float, so the result would be float. So amount should be declared with a float only. That point always remember. How you are arriving at that, you know that. And now in this case int versus float you are doing, then the result will be the output variable type should be float, so amount should be declared as float. That's why we declared amount here. So we are creating a reservation. Amount is reserved variable for output, because immediately output is not available. That's why for amount sake 1 2 3 4 amount float some address, so it is reserved. And when it is filled, as far as 3 items are concerned, as soon as assignment is over they are filled, but this is just reserved, it is filled after processing. Now I am introducing for the first time second section, that is third section I am introducing. Already I introduced declaration section, output section. Now I am introducing processing section also. If you come to processing and all that, like in mathematics, but the formation of formula is different. Mathematics, how can you arrive at amount? Amount is equal to quantity into rate or numbers into rate. That type only write amount is equal to quantity into rate. Quantity is multiplied by rate, and whatever amount is created, that the product of this is stored in this thing. That is the meaning. This is arithmetical statement, or you can call it as a processing section, processing statement. So in this only processing statement, as a result of this, this calculation, then amount is calculated, that is 272.5. 272.5 is stored in this. Now we see all variables are filled. 3 variables are filled because we entered, the shopkeeper entered the values because they are input variables. As far as fourth variable is concerned, whenever this formula, this arithmetical statement is executed, that is also filled. Now all 4 variables are filled. Now rest of the thing is same. Already in previous programs I explained, in 4 programs I explained how you have to write and all that. Then whatever format, now first I told you, you must have clarity about how you want to, how you are expecting output from your program. Now you see, initially you expect a heading and lines, and you write item like list, thereafter the corresponding items and line. In this way, being a beginner programmer, first what output you are expecting from the program, first you write like this and all that. Thereafter, with reference to this, already I have given a checklist. How many variables are required? What are the appropriate corresponding types? Third one is what names you have to give. Okay, and thereafter one more question also. Now I am adding to the checklist. How many are input variables? How many are output variables? How many are input variables? How many are output variables? In case of output variables, what types are appropriate for them and what names we have to give. So entire checklist, once again I repeat, to write program with 3 sections. How many variables are there? Out of that, how many are input variables? How many are output variables? That is first question. I am extending the first question. How many variables? Out of that, how many are input variables? How many are output variables? Second point is, what are the appropriate types for input variables as well as output variables, and what are the appropriate names? That you have to find out. Then that is the starting, that is what I call design. First mentally complete your program, and this also, this type of format you write, or otherwise mentally form a clear idea. Your designing is over. Once design is over, then start writing coding. Design is the mental work, coding is the physical work. First you complete your mental work, thereafter you write coding. Actually 99% college goers feel that coding is programming. That is a very wrong concept. Coding comes after designing. Designing you cannot view. Design is in our brain. For example, you want to go for a holiday trip for 1 week. 1 week. Today I want to start, and 1 week you have to spend for a holiday trip. Before that, you make lot of mental work. All that mental work means what you do, which place you have to visit, to whom to accommodate, where we get accommodation, all that reservations, how you get, all that you make a mental work. After mental work is over, then you start physical work. Understand? So without mental work, that means without design, if you go for implementation, a lot of chaos will be there. and it leads to a lot of confusion, and you may commit several errors. In this also, it is whether small program or big program, first design part you complete, thereafter you go for coding. Actually, this is a very professional habit. It should be start, it is not afterwards. From the day one, you should habituate to this thing. First design, thereafter coding. That if you understand the real spirit of this concept, then definitely you will become a proficient programmer, no doubt about that.